let's start the class. Last time, if you guys remember, we were discussing how you can divide your program into multiple files. Okay? We had discussed the reason that as your programs become bigger and complex, it is very difficult to maintain or manage a program which is thousands of lines of code in one file only. Okay, so as our programs get bigger, we divide our program into multiple files for ease of management. Okay? And when we divide the program, we basically put related code in one file and codes that are completely unrelated, we put them in separate files. So we had discussed how with respect to C language, we had repeated what we had done in CS 103, that if you have only functions, how you can distribute functions in multiple files. Okay, so we had reached a conclusion that in functions, basically, we create two types of file: header files, which contain the declaration of functions, and .c file, which contain implementation or the bodies of those functions. Okay, we keep the bodies separate because in C++ and C, there's a rule that says that it's called one definition rule, and that says that things can be defined only once in C and C++. Okay, so function body is basically function definition. So functions can again be defined only once, so we can have the function body only once in our whole program. So that's why we put the function body in .c files, because .c files are not included anywhere else. Whereas .h files can be included at multiple locations, okay? And even at the same location, they can be included multiple times. So if we had put the body in the .h file, because of the multiple inclusions of .h files, that body will be represented multiple times, or it will be like present in our program multiple times, and that would basically violate the one definition rule, and the compiler will give an error that this function has been defined twice, thrice, or multiple times. So that's why we keep the bodies separately in .c files and the declarations in .h file. Okay? Declaration in .h file, because to use any function, we have to first declare it. Okay? And we keep those declarations in .h files, and wherever we are using that function, we include that .h file. Okay? So that inclusion of .h file will basically put the declaration of a function before the function use, so the compiler can know that this function, what does it look like and how many arguments does it have, and it can do a error checking on that function, on the call to that function. Okay? So .h files contain only declarations, and they can include it anywhere we want. So that's a traditional way. If you want to go non-traditional way, if you want to put bodies in .h files, I mean, you can, nobody's stopping you, but ultimately you will run problems. So this is what we had discussed in our last class, I think. So any questions regarding this? No? Okay, good. So now let's come to C++ then. In C++, we have not only functions, but we also have classes. Okay, so we declare and define our classes, and wherever we want to use a class, we have to first declare that class before the use. So again, in C++, we do the same kind of thing, that we divide our code in multiple classes, in multiple files. And the traditional way of dividing code in files is that usually if your classes are very, very small, then you can put multiple classes in the same file. But usually our classes get bigger, and what we do is that we have we put the code of one class in one file, and you have usually it's not exactly correct. For every class, we contain two files. One is the header file, which in C the extension was .h. In C++, traditionally the extension of a header file is .hpp. Okay, header ++. But you can give it any extension you want, it doesn't matter. But traditionally, the header file extension is .hpp in C++. So this is one file which is associated with each class. There's another second file which is associated with each class, which contains the implementation of that class, and that file extension is usually .cpp. Okay. In C, the extension, the implementation files contain the extension .c. In C++, the implementation file contains the extension .cpp. In C, the header file contains the extension .h. In C++, the header file contains the extension .hpp. Okay. So let's see an example what can be in a class declaration in .h file and what can be in a class definition or implementation in a .cpp file. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so this is 112. Okay, so this was for .h file. So here I named the functions implementation file .cpp, but in C it should have been .c files. So let me create another folder. So let's say main. Okay, so this is my CPP file, view, full screen. Okay, so is this terminal visible to you guys? Can you guys see that? Okay, good, thank you. So this is a main file, and let's say here we want to, this is our main program. So we'll put the main functionality here and every other functionality, for example, the code for functions, code for classes, etc. We will put them in separate files. So let's define a class and implement, or let's say use it in this main class, main function. So what kind of class should I define? Let's say I want to define a class called teacher. Okay. So for every class, usually we have multiple two files at least, a header file and a CPP file. So teacher.cpp. Teacher. So let's have some private variables. Let's say string faculty, string name, and string an array of string courses. Yeah. And then we can have public functions. Let's say you can have as many functions you want, but let's say just for the sake of let's have only one function, display, which will basically display the teacher name and faculty. Okay. So let's add a constructor to initialize it. By default, it's let's call this function. I mean, default arguments are dummy, but we can pass it arguments A and B as name and faculty. So let's assign A to name and B to faculty. So this is basically a function, I mean a class teacher, which is being used, which we will use in the main function. So here, since we are using std out and string etc., so we will need to include the header file iostream.h here, okay? Because if I don't include it here, it will give me an error that it does not recognize the function cout and string etc. Let me show it to you. In C++, we can compile files individually also. So teacher.cpp, you see it gives an error that it does not recognize this string Hello, sorry, can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. Sorry, the light has gone in GIK Institute and all the networks are down. Okay, so I'm connected through this telephone hotspot. Okay, so sorry. So I hope all of you are like online still. So where did I got disconnected? I was telling you, I mean, I had, let me share this screen again. Okay, so I was telling you that I had made this class called teacher.cpp, and in this class I had told you that I'm using this type string as well as the function cout. So in C++, whenever you use something new, you have to introduce it to the program, and we do it by declaring these new types and functions. Okay, so this new type string and function cout has not been declared in my class. Okay, so therefore, when I compiled this file teacher.cpp, it gave me these errors that it does not recognize this type string as well as it does not recognize the function cout. Okay. So what do we have to do? That we have to introduce these functions and classes types. So the introduction is done by declaration, and a declaration of these uh, the type string as well as the function cout is found in the header files. So we should include the appropriate header files, the string, and use the namespace, because as we saw earlier that the function cout, etc., they are defined inside the namespace std. Okay, and now if we compile this program, we should be able to compile it like G++. I think that just for compilation without generating the exe, it's teacher.cp, dash c. Okay, so dash c, it says unexpected input at line 13. Line 13. Yes, so here class teacher. That is good. Yeah, so this is the problem. We have not closed this function. Okay. Unknown array size in delete. This is line number 10. Change line number 10. So teacher string B, yes, and yeah, here it unknown array size coming from here. Let's say teacher can teach 5 courses per semester. Okay, so it compiled without, yeah, it compiled, but it is still missing and to generate an executable, the C++ program requires the main function. Okay, so here in this particular file, there is no main function. So it will not generate an executable. So to generate an executable, we have to have a main function, which we have in the main.cpp file. So we can compile all those CPP files together to basically generate an executable file and main.cpp. But I'll come to the main.cpp later. For the moment, do you have any questions regarding this class teacher.cpp? Is it clear what this code is doing? We have private variables plus a public function in which we are just displaying the value of the two variables. And we have a constructor to initialize the two variables. Okay, no question. Sorry. So let us use this class in main.cpp. I declare a variable teacher t1. Let's give it a name and faculty. Okay, and then you t1 dot, was it display or show? Teacher display. Display. Okay. So here again, since I'm using this new type teacher, so I have to first declare this type before using it. Again, the declaration is inside the what's it called, .h file. So I will include the teacher.h. Let's name it HPP, okay? Because I just told you that conventionally C++ header files are named .hpp. So let's name it. Oh no, it's teacher.cpp. Sorry. Oops. Teacher.cpp. Let's name it teacher.hpp. Okay. So now we have two files here. Remove teacher.o. So we have two files here, main.cpp, which contains the code for main, and teacher.hpp, which contains the code, a declaration of the class teacher. So again, this teacher.hpp, it is already included in the main. Okay, so during compilation, we do not need to give it specifically the file teacher.cpp. We can only give it main.cpp. Okay. So main.cpp includes teacher.cpp. So all the code of teacher.hpp, it will be included in the file main, and then the main file will be compiled by the program G++. Oops. Yeah. So when the header file is present in the same directory, okay, so we give the path in double quotes. Main.cpp here. I think we discussed this difference between angle brackets and double quotes, that it is to tell the program where to find the header file. The angle brackets basically tell the program to go and find this header file inside the system folders, okay, where this G++, everything is installed. Whereas this double quotes tell the compiler to go and find this header file in the path that we have specified, okay? Not to go in and look for it inside the system folders. So here, if the file is inside the same folder, then we do not need to give any extra path, but we just give the name of the file. So it will find it in the same folder. Everything's good. We run the program and it says that teacher works in FCC faculty. So here we have put the declaration of the class teacher in this teacher.hpp file. Okay. And include will basically copy paste the code of teacher.hpp here instead of this line. And by the time we reach inside main, the compiler reaches and sees this type teacher, it will have already gone through the declaration of the class teacher, and it would know what is teacher, what is this new type. Okay, so this is just to that if you put the declaration of a class in a separate header file, you can include it in your main file like this. I'll describe how we can divide into two different files, .cpp and .hpp next, but is everything clear so far? Do the string and IOStream classes already have the hash define, hash ndef, and if inside the HTTP files? Yes. What do you mean by this hash define? Is this like the thing like this? Let me go in teacher. So are you talking about the thing that is like here? And let me see. If def sorry, if and if no, it's no, and if it's just like this, we don't have this. Yeah. So is it something like this that you're talking about? When you have if and def and defined at the very start of the header file, and then you have an end if at the very end of the header file. Is it something like this that you had in mind, Farid? Hello, can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. So, Mohammad Fareh, your question, was it pertaining to this thing that I just typed? In which context are you, have you seen this hash define, hash and if and if, etc.? Okay, good. So this is basically to prevent, basically these are, as you can see, all these commands, they start from hash. So these are preprocessor directives, okay? So these are preprocessor directives and they were used to prevent, to avoid including the same header file multiple times in the same CPP file. Here in let's say in main.cpp, we have included teacher.hpp. Now this, we have a very simple program, so we are including teacher.hpp only once. But let's say if you had a complex program where you were including multiple header files in main.cpp. Okay? And some of these header files, they included other header files, and those included header files included other header files. Okay? So this way you can have recursive inclusion of different header files, and it may happen that teacher.hpp was included in many of those header files also. Okay? So what that would do is that would basically copy paste the code of teacher.hpp multiple times in this main .cpp. Okay, because we are including it directly, and we are including other header files which are directly or indirectly further including teacher.hpp. So teacher.hpp code will be pasted multiple times in main.cpp, and what would happen is that the compiler would have to parse or go through lots of code. So to make the job of the compiler easier, it was, programmers, they invented different techniques to avoid including the same header file multiple times in a CPP file. Okay, so directly or indirectly. So this was the technique that was used by the C programmers. Okay, so I'll just describe it briefly, not go in detail. So if the compiler sees if and if is like if not defined. Okay? So if teacher.hpp, this string teacher underscore hpp in capital is not defined, this first line, you define this teacher underscore hpp immediately, and then you have this code. Okay, so the compiler will, if the first time it encounters this teacher.hpp file, it will see that teacher underscore hpp string is not defined. Okay, and it will go inside this if and if. Okay, so this is if statement, but for preprocessors. So if this thing is not defined, it will go inside this code if statement. It will define this teacher underscore hpp and go through all this code, and here it will reach the end of if statement. Okay. So the first time, since this is not defined, it will go in the if statement and define and include all this code. The next time it encounters teacher.hpp in the same CPP file, this string has already been defined. Okay. So the compiler will see that if not defined teacher underscore hpp, now that the teacher underscore hpp has already been defined, this condition will become false, and compiler will know, the preprocessor, it will not go inside this if statement. Okay, so the next time this code will not be included. So this was a technique that was basically used by C programmers. In C++, since this is like you have to type 3 lines, etc., everything. So in C++, they have, in the latest version of C++, they have basically removed this technique. I mean, they still support it, but they encourage you to use a newer technique, which basically removes all these 3 lines and replaces it by this only 1 line. On the first line, you just write .hp file hash pragma once, which will basically include this header file only once in CPP file, even if you have indirectly or indirectly included it multiple times. Okay, so let me come back to your question. So your question was that do the string at IOStream classes already have an in.hp file? Yes. So they have already defined it, and since they are C++ files, so most probably instead of having hash if and if, they are implementing the same technique as hash pragma once. Okay, does it make sense? Okay, good. So I hope others also were able to follow a little. Header files, they can be included multiple times accidentally. And let's say if you have included multiple header files like 20 times, then that's lots of extra work for the preprocessor and compiler to do. To avoid including multiple header files, same header file multiple times, we have these techniques where we include the header file only once. And the simplest technique to do so is that in modern C++ compilers, you write hash pragma once at the very top of the header file. Okay, good. So, okay, and any other questions so far? No? Okay, good. So basically this teacher.hpp file is a it's only header file, and I just told you that usually we have 2 files for a class, a header file and a CPP file. So that happens when we define these functions outside this. Let me include teacher.cpp twice, see what happens. I'm explicitly including it twice, okay? Just to see what happens. It works again, okay? Now let me remove that pragma once. I remove this pragma once and let's see what happens again. So see, redefinition of class teacher. Class teacher has been defined twice because we have defined our class twice. So pragma once is useful here. So another thing that we have seen is that we can declare our member functions inside the class and define them outside the class. For example, this function display, I can declare it inside the class and define it outside the class, but then you know that you have to give here the scope, the class scope. Okay. So this basically, we have defined this function outside the class. Oops. And similarly, we can do for the do the same for the constructor also. It's not very clear, but let's do it anyway. Constructors, as you guys know, do not have a return type. So here, So default arguments, I'm not sure. I think we don't need to give the default arguments here. Not sure, but let's see what it says. Okay, good. With the default arguments, we do not need to give them the declarations. Okay. So what happens is that this implementations and the declaration of the classes, they can get very long. So what people do is they separate the class interface, which is this, just the member variables and the declaration of the functions. This is the interface and the implementation of these functions. Okay, so they separate these. We usually put the interface in the .hpp file and the what's it called? The implementation, we put it in .cpp file. So in that case, what we will do is we will just take this implementation from here and let's call it teacher.cpp. So now we have divided our class teacher into two files, or we have two files for this class. One is a .hpp file which contains its interface, and the other one is .cpp file which contains its implementation. So here again, so since it's a we are using this type teacher here in this file, and this file has no idea what a teacher is. Okay? So we have to basically introduce a type teacher here, and we do that by including the what's it called, teacher.cpp, sorry, .hpp here. Teacher.hpp contains a declaration of the class teacher. We include it here so that this class, before using the word teacher, teacher is declared the class here, and then we basically implement the implementations here. And this way, now we have three classes or three files: main, which contains the code for main, and two classes for the type teacher or the class teacher. One .hpp, which contains the declaration of the class teacher, okay? And this other file teacher.cpp, which contains the implementation for the class teacher. The implementation means the body of its functions. So now that I have the class declaration, interface and the class implementation separately, I have multiple files in my program, and now I have multiple CPP files. Okay. So how do I compile this program when I have multiple CPP files? Basically, when compiling multiple CPP files, we have to compile all the CPP files. I think you remember from in C also, in CS103, we had multiple function implementations and multiple CPP files. We have to give all those CPP files to the compiler. Otherwise, the compiler will give us an error that it did not find the implementation of a certain function. For example, if I say compile only main.cpp, main.cpp includes teacher.hpp. Okay. Now teacher.hpp contains the interface for the class teacher, but it does not contain the implementation for the class teacher. Previously, teacher.hpp contained interface as well as the implementation of those functions inside the class. Okay, so it was not giving us any error. Right now, teacher.hpp contains the interface but not the implementation. So let's see what happens. So compiler did everything fine, but when it reached the linker stage, linker is telling you that you are using a function teacher constructor and teacher display, but it did not find the implementation or the code for this function. This undefined reference means the linker was unable to find the body of the function. The body of the function can be either in your CPP files or in a library. Since here it's our functions, so the library obviously does not have the code for teacher display and teacher constructor. So it must be in our file somewhere. So in our files, it is in teacher.cpp. But when we compiled this program, we did not tell the compiler to include teacher.cpp also as part of the compilation. Okay. So we have to give it explicitly main.cpp as well as teacher.cpp to compile. Okay. So this way the compiler will compile both these files separately and then link the calls and the function bodies across these different files. So if I compile it now, you see it compiled without any error because it was able to find the bodies of these functions that we are calling in main. It was able to find the body or the implementation of this function inside teacher.cpp, which is now included as part of the compilation process. So now we can just run to see that it works, and it was able to find the body and execute the code. So this is how we basically divide our code into multiple files in C++. Usually our C++ code is usually composed of functions or classes and their member functions. So whenever you have a class, usually you put it the definition or the interface of the class, so declaration or the interface of the class in .hpp file, and you will put its implementation. If it's outside the class, you put its implementation in a separate .cpp file. And then let's say you have 10 classes. So for each class you have a .hpp file as well as .cpp file. When compiling, you will tell the compiler to compile main.cpp as well as those 10 .cpp files. You will tell the compiler to compile, and then the compiler will compile all those files one by one. And if there is anything which is across multiple files, let's say one function is defined in one file and it is being called in another file, then it will be able to link all those function calls to the function bodies. Okay, so that's where the code, the name of the linker software comes from. It links these different references across different object files. Yeah, so that's how we divide our code. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Did you guys understand what all this was about, or did it go over your heads? Okay, good. So if it's so clear, then tell me, you guys, that when I'm compiling, I need to give it all the CPU files. So I'm compiling on a command line, so I can give it one by one all the CPU files. Let's say if you guys are using Visual Studio Code or some other IDE, how will you tell the compiler to compile, make all those CPP files part of the compilation process, to include them in your compilation? How will you do it in your Visual Studio Code, for example? Let me open Visual Studio Code here. How do I open Visual Studio Code here? Give me a minute. Okay. Okay, let me open the Visual Studio Code and let's discuss it. Okay, so this is Visual Studio Code I just opened. So let's open our folder. Open folder, add folder to workspace. Okay, so let's multi2, the folder that we just had. Okay. So now this folder contains main.cpp as well as teacher.cpp and teacher.hpp. So how do I basically include or compile include the CP file as part of the compilation? So let me, what was, I think it was F5 for compilation. Let me see, F5 GDB. Okay. G++.exe. So you see, G++.exe build and debug active file. So let me click on this one.
तो .json कहाँ से आ गया?
Dot क्या? Let me do this. It failed.
Sorry,
So what were you saying?
Sir, I'm sorry, मैं अहमद को बोल रहा था वो .json file.
Okay. Acha, so include file name.cp. No, we include the header files. We never include .cpp files because .cpp files contain definitions. Okay, and definitions, it is very much possible that you can include those .cpp file multiple times. Right now it's a simple program with 2-3 files only. But let's say if you have a file program with hundreds of files and multiple files are included in multiple other files, etc. So it can happen that accidentally multiple files are included multiple times somewhere. So if you include .cpp files, then you will again face the same problem that accidentally you will have multiple definition errors. Okay, so we never include .cpp files. The whole idea of separating .h files and .cpp files is that you do not have to include .cpp files. Definitions are put in .cpp files and then they were never included. We include only declarations which are in header files. Okay, so include .cpp is not an option. Include .hpp files, you can do it. Include file.hpp/cpp. No, again, cpp inclusion is not a good idea at all. Add the name of the files, giving command or term. Yeah, you can. This is one option. Either you can give the name of the files, the cpp files, to the compiler on the command line. Okay, but most people are not comfortable with command line. Okay, so they just want to click the button. Okay, and the button should automatically include all these files. So do you have add them to JSON file? Very good. So that button, when you run this build task, it runs the commands in the .json file. Okay, so in .json file, where you are included .cpp file, you include all those CPP files in your .json. Okay, then the compiler, whenever you press that button or run that build task, the compiler will automatically include those CPP files if you had given the names in .json file. So let me see. Here. No, Usman, by adding in the path this .cpp files, you have to give them to the compiler. The path is to tell the compiler where to find those files. If you are not told the compiler to include those files at all, then adding the path will make no difference because the compiler will never look for those files. Adding the path helps the compiler to look for those files, and the compiler will look for those files only if you tell it to look for those files. And to tell it to look for those files, you have to include either those file names on the command line or in some other way ask the compiler to look for those files. Okay? So basically adding to a JSON file is the equivalent of giving the names on the command line because the compiler will run the commands in the JSON file on the command line. So let us see what we can do about it. So this is launch.json. In fact, we have to do it in task.json. In task.json, this is a command, and here we give the files. So this is a command that will run on the command line. This is the command. So here, if you guys remember, I had selected run the build the active file only. The active file at that time was teacher.cpp. I had opened teacher.cpp and I had run this command. So if you see this command here, where is it? Yeah, here. Here you have the command that is run on the command line, g++.exe -g. So this -g comes from here, task.json -g, and then it's the file name, the active file. So the active file is teacher.cpp. So where is that terminal? Where is that terminal? Task.json. Where can we see the terminal? No. Oh, how do you get to the terminal? Oh, no. Run start debugging about okay. So it ran g++.exe, then -g, and then this symbol file means active file. Active file at now currently it was task.json. It does not make sense to compile task.json. Okay, we have to compile .cp file. So let me compile this one. Run start debugging. So g++.exe -g, and then the file name. You see here the file name with the full path. Here it is teacher.cpp, and then -o and the executable name that you want to generate. Okay? So this is the command that was run, and this is exactly the command that was inside task.json. So if you go to task.json, here you have these arguments to the command. The compiler is this one, g++.exe, and then the rest of the arguments are -g, the current file name, and -o. -o basically specifies the output file name, which is basically directory slash this executable name that you want to give it to. Okay. So this is the command that was run. So if I want to add the thing, I will have to add it here, okay, so that it can be run on the command line. So what we can do is, instead of these variables, this is a variable for the current file, we give the hard-coded names. Okay, so let's just give it name. And this is main.cpp, and I think we have to give it this file path. The path is basically directory name plus. Okay, so why is it now giving us an error? Maybe it's red. Okay, this should be in. So now it will include main.cpp, and let's executable also, let's give it a name. So we have not yet given it teacher.cpp. Okay, so right now if we run it, it will not include the teacher.cpp file. So let's save it and then start debugging. Okay, so it is basically running this teacher-g, and then this is the main.cpp file. Okay, .visual studio code. No, we don't need .visual studio code. This is not in the path. This is not the correct path. Correct path should be multi2/. So how do we? Okay, what for the moment what I'll do is I will, instead of these variables, let me give this path, or we can do it directly also. The current directory. Let me give the path, full path. I'll look it up later, but for the moment, let's do it like this. So basically, these variable names are used so that we don't have to type all these large, long strings for path names. You can look it up later, but let me just run this. Okay, so you see here it tried to compile this g++.xg-g and this main.cpp file, and then -o it gave it tried to generate an executable file, but since it is only main.cpp and not what's it called, teacher.cpp. Okay? So again, the linker was unable to find the references for teacher constructor as well as teacher display. Okay, so this is the same error that we had on the command line. So we know that how do we need to solve this problem. So here basically I'll give the okay. So once this is done, this is basically it will compile. Yeah, it's good. It will compile these two files on the command line. Okay. So let me run this. Start. Okay. So it now g++.exe, and then it basically took this main.cpp as well as teacher.cpp. It basically compiled them and generated this multi2.exe. Okay, so multi2.exe is inside this Visual Studio Code, so we can also replace this here. Or it is good, okay. Whichever folder it is inside this multi2/.vscode/multi2.exe. But to launch it, it is here that we have to give. So here we have to give the name of the program. We have changed this name. So to launch this program, it's called multi2.exe. Okay. So now, so where is the bar? Okay, so see, it was able to run the program successfully, and the output was teacher Taj works in FCSE faculty. Okay, so you have to configure your this project settings so that the compiler, you have to tell the compiler to include all the .cpp files in the as a part of the compiler process. Okay, is it clear? When you have multiple CPP files, right now I have only one Excel CPP file. Okay, apart from main, I have only one CPP file, teacher.cpp. But as you guys are developing your game, you would want to put the code for different classes separately in different CPP files and different .hpp files. So this way, your project will have many CPP files. So you have to tell the compiler to include all those .cpp files as part of the compilation process. To access, it automatically created a task.json file. When I ran the first time, there was no .json file. And when I ran this program, I basically did this. I go to terminal and I go to run and start debugging. So I pressed F5. So F5, it gave me different options. It gave me different options that which files I would like to compile. So there was an option which said that compile the active file with G++. So I selected that option, and it automatically created this .json file, task.json to compile and launch.json to launch that file inside the VS Code folder. So I think let me delete this VS Code folder and start again. So let me just delete file folder, delete. Okay, so now we have deleted the VS Code folder. Delete. No? Okay, so let me delete it from the folder. I am going into the folder and I am deleting this a.out manually. So now there's no a.out. So so here we are. I had selected teacher.cpp and then I had gone to run. Sorry, I gone to run. I did F5, start debugging, and you see it gave me these options: GDB, C++, or Windows. So GDB is basically the debugger that comes with G++. So here it gave me these options: G++, compile and debug active file. So I had chosen this option. So this option, active file, means only this teacher.cpp. Okay. So if I select this file, this option, so you see it automatically created this Visual Studio.vs Code folder, and inside .vs Code I have this launch.json as well as task.json. Okay. And here, if you see the compiled messages, yeah. So it was this one here. So g++.exe -g, and it tried to compile only this teacher.cpp file, which was active file. Okay. And -o, it tried to generate an exe called teacher.exe. So this is the command that basically for which it generated this task.json. So task.json, basically this g++.exe and then -g, this is this variable name for active file, and then -o, the option to generate output file. So this file was generated automatically, and I just modified it to suit my own purpose. Okay, so instead of this default file, I added 2 lines which contain the path to what's it called, the main.cpp file. So I think instead of file directory name, I should use this. Let me use this workspace folder to see if this is the correct one. Main.cpp. Okay, instead of giving the full path, the workspace folder variable hopefully will contain the full path, and then this I am keeping the same. This is basically the path to .visual studio, what's it called, .vs code / something.exe, because this is the name that will be used by launch.json to run the program. Yes, so if I change the name over there, like I did in my last example, I'll have to change it here also. So for the moment, I'm keeping it the same, just to test this workspace folder variable name. So let's go run. Let's debug it. Okay, so it compiled correctly. Okay. So and it ran this, ran the program and gave this output. So if we go and see where is the command line? This is launcher that is so where will the compiled file? Yeah, so if you see the compile line, command line, this is g++.exe dash the path main.cpp and then path teacher.cpp. So this variable, the workspace folder variable, it contains the path to your main folder. And this variable file dir name, it contains the path to the .vs code folder inside your main folder. Here you see this path is multi2/.vs code/task.ag. No, no, this is I think the previous. Okay, let's just build it. Run build task. Yeah, teacher.cpp, main.cpp, and build.exe. Okay, so to answer your question, the task.json was created automatically, but you guys can read online that you can define different tasks for your project. You can define build task, different kind of build tasks in which you can give different commands and different file names to run and build your project. And then you can define different debug tasks if you want to debug your project. And you can also define these launch tasks to launch your how to launch your project. So you will find different the documentation for Visual Studio Code and how to define these tasks using tasks.json, etc. online. So let me see this link by Usman Tahir. What is it? Okay, it's very good. It's very good. It gives you introduction about all those files and how to set up your project initially. So yes, no, that's very good. I think this link, it should be given to you guys at the start of the semester, so there's you can read up on your own how to set up this Visual Studio Code, etc. Yes, yes. OOP is very class conscious. So I think we can call it a non-communist language. Any questions so far? Sorry. I will upload the lectures on YouTube today. Sorry. You guys had asked me last time also and I had totally forgotten. I'll do it today. As soon as we have light restored on the campus. Any other question? How to divide your project into different subfiles and how to configure your VS Code, or how to tell the compiler to compile all those .cpp files. Because this topic is, I'm ending it here, and from the next class we'll basically restart C++ topics. No? Okay, so I'll stop the video here. What lab topic do we have tomorrow? I think it's on polymorphism. Tomorrow's lab is on polymorphism. So polymorphism you guys covered last week, so normally you should be okay with that. Oh, Alishba, you have been asking this question since the midterms. Don't worry about how much syllabus is left. Just keep practicing. Keep practicing, and with practice you will get good at programming. Don't think in terms of syllabus. We'll be studying until the last week. Okay, so try to, most of the stuff that we'll study in the next few weeks, it will be more related to C++. So we'll study about libraries, etc., the functions that are already available in C++. So hopefully the next topics, they will make your life easier, because you'll see in many things which are available in the standard library, but since you guys don't know about it, so you might be reinventing the wheel in your projects. So पर्सनल में बात करनी थी. I sent you an email. You can come tomorrow at 12 p.m. in the office. Since you're on campus, so yes. Okay, so if there are no questions related to the class, I'll stop the recording, and then you guys can ask if you have any questions regarding the project or the mid. We can continue this discussion.